Chag Sameach to everyone as we welcome in Pesach 5780. It's an exciting time. It's a difficult time. We're all in our bubbles, and some people enjoy their homes. Some people like going out more and then coming back to their homes at the end of the day. And sometimes it could feel a little tight. Everyone's getting a little bit too close to each other in your bubble. And, there's a famous story about that, how to deal with the claustrophobic syndrome in your bubble. A famous story about a family who said they don't think they have enough room in their house. And they went to their rabbi and they said, "Rabbi, help us. We feel really, really squashed into our house. We only have so-and-so bedrooms and, we don't have enough room for us, for the kids. What do we do?" So the rabbi said, "Look, all you have to do is take 2 goats into your home." So they took 2 goats into their home for a couple days. And after a couple days, they said, "Look, Rabbi, we took 2 goats into our home. Now it's a little bit more difficult for us. And, we're looking for guidance here. Help us out." So the rabbi said, "Not a problem. Just for another 2 days, just add another 2 chickens." So they added another 2 chickens. And this went on for about 2 weeks. And every 2 or 3 days, the rabbi would tell them to add another 1 or 2 animals to their home. At the end of the 2 weeks, this family was ready to go at each other's throats. And they came to the rabbi and said, "Rabbi, that's enough. Can you please give us a solution already? We're so frustrated with being together in a cramped space." And the rabbi said, "Sure, not a problem. Now, what I want you to do, release all the animals, send them back to the farm." And they did. And then they felt that their home was so spacious and so nice. And so sometimes it's just a matter of perception, and we need that perception in times of everyone being in the same space at the same time. But really what I want to do at this Pesach is to address engaging with your bubble and embracing the bubble that we're in, embracing the family that surrounds you within the confines of the isolation that we need to adhere by because of COVID-19. And so what does Pesach really have to do with family? Everything. So let's go through it. First of all, the Korban Pesach itself, Pesach, the name Pesach, is given after 2 things. 1, Makat Bechorot, the 10th plague, the death of the firstborn, which the Malach HaMavet, the angel of death, Pesach, went over the houses of those who put the lamb's blood on their doorway, thus listening to Hashem's ruling, Hashem's words, Hashem's commandment of that time. And the commandment was Mishchu ukhu lachem tzon. Draw for yourselves, Mishchu, draw your hands in, and take for yourselves a sheep. And who should take a sheep? Not every single person, rather each household. Sel levet avot, to the household of the owner of the household. Sel abayit, a sheep for the house. So the whole concept of Pesach is around the home. The Korban Pesach itself, even in times of the temple, skipping forward in history, was eaten by a family. An entire family would eat a sheep. So essentially, the Pesach experience from the dawn of the Exodus from Egypt, from that moment onwards, all the way till this very day, has been family-focused, family-centered. It was never done in a shul. It was always done around a dining room table. Leil HaSeder is designed to be done in a home with your families, your guests, people you welcome into your home. Essentially, the bubbles we create for ourselves, even in the best of times when there's no isolation. And what came out, and Mishchu Chulachem Tzon, the sentence, the pasuk that says, pull your hands away and take for yourselves, according to the Sfat Emet, Rav Yuda Aryeh Leib from Gur, a great chassid who was part of the Gur Hasidic dynasty, teaches us that mishchu ukchu, pull your hands away and take for yourselves, are actually two sides of the same coin, the negative and the positive. Take your hands away from idolatry and take for yourselves the sheep, embrace the mitzvah. Pull your hands away from the influence of Egypt and embrace Hashem's ways, which was the challenge of the times and really the ultimate test of Makat Bechorot during the last plague, the death of the firstborn. Those who were spared, those families whose firstborn was spared, was those families who were able to take the lamb tied to the bedpost for 4 days, and on the fourth day, shechted, put the blood on the doorpost, just as Hashem commanded, and then they were spared and eventually left Yetziat Mitzrayim. And that important, vital lesson, that test, was done in a context of one's home, in the context of one's family. And what came out of the blood? That blood, we don't have Jewish homes with blood on the doorpost, rather the mitzvah for generations, lidorot. It became the mitzvah of mezuzah, putting a mezuzah on our doorpost. A mezuzah contains the first two sections of Kriyat Shema, where the commandment of mezuzah is mentioned, and that is supposed to guard us, guard our home. Every single home requires, at the very least, one mezuzah on the front of on the doorway to the home, to the entrance to the home. And what is written on the mezuzah? There's a beautiful thing written on the mezuzah, every single mezuzah, on the bottom of the parchment and on the sides, and even some of the batim, the beautiful cases, mezuzah cases, the hard cases where we put the parchment into in order to preserve it. You'll see usually 3 letters: Shin, Daled, Yud, the same letters that men tie on their hands when they put on tefillin, or if you're lefty, you'll tie it on this hand. Shomer Daltot Israel, the guardian of the doors of Israel. And that is the acronym for one of Hashem's names, Shaddai, and a very appropriate name to put on a mezuzah. Guard our doors, to guard our family. But let's go all the way back. Let's go back and let's picture Leil HaSeder, because we're about to all do a Seder. Some will do it virtually, some will do it actually, some will do it with family overseas, some will try to do mock Seders with your family here in Wellington that's outside of your bubble. People are going to try to connect to different people through Leil HaSeder, and the main mitzvah of Leil HaSeder, of Seder night, is Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, telling the story of the Exodus of Egypt. So let's go through that story and show you how it's family-oriented. The first part of the story actually starts with Lavan, Yaakov Avinu's father-in-law, who gives Yaakov not one but 2 of his daughters to marry, and tried to deceive him, and even tried to uproot Yaakov entirely, which we mentioned in the Haggadah. Again, a story that is 100% in the context of building the family. In fact, the whole concept of Bnei Israel were named afterwards. The people of Israel, or the Jewish people, are a derivative of. Bnei Israel originally means the literal children, the actual children of Israel, who is Yaakov. And who came down to Egypt to greet Yosef? The children of Israel and his grandkids, great-grandkids, 70 people in total came down, and they were just a family, an extended family, a large family of 70 people. You can imagine how big that bubble was if it was 70 people. And they all came to Egypt, eventually became fruitful and multiplied, and eventually emerged as the 12 tribes leaving Egypt. The first story in the book of Shemot as well is a story that is centered around the building of a family, which is the story of the midwives, Shifra and Puah. They were literally saving the families from Israel, from the Egyptians. They were saving the boys that Paro wanted to throw in the Nile, claiming that the Hebrew women, they give birth on their own, and Shifra and Puah could not get there in time in order to throw the boys into the Nile as Paro requested, thus saving hundreds, possibly thousands of young Jewish babies. Birth, family origin. And that's how the book of Shemot starts, telling the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. Moshe himself, the way Moshe is introduced is not at the burning bush. We start with Moshe's birth, his parents, where they're from, his tribe of origin of Levi, and how he eventually was raised in the palace, taken by Paro's daughter to be adopted as part of the royal family in Egypt, and eventually building a family of his own when he escaped to Midian with Zipporah and having 2 sons. So family is so part and parcel of what the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim is actually about, the actual contents of the story. And of course, the epic ending of the 10 plagues, as we mentioned before, is Makat Bechorot, the death of the firstborn, the only plague that is 100% focused on a family setting. Every one of the other plagues affected households as well, but the focus wasn't the household. It was either the Nile, the economic devastation of Egypt through the crops, or the animals, or the people. But the only one that affected the home, each and every home, was Makat Bechorot, the death of the firstborn. And as a result, giving birth to the mitzvah of mezuzah, which guards our homes till this very day. And in fact, the very symbol of Pesach is matzah. And what was matzah? The food that the families made for themselves on their journey. You know, when you go on a family trip, one of the first things you think about is, what food are we going to eat, right? So, you know, I would eat gluten-free matzah very happily because it's absolutely delicious. But, you know, in Egypt, when they wanted to escape, they wanted to do it with haste. And they just did not let the bread rise. And matzah, the symbol of that food that each family made for themselves, is the ultimate symbol of Pesach. And maybe one of the most important mitzvot of Pesach is matzah. As a result, what do? A lot of us have spent the past days, possibly weeks, hopefully not months, cleaning the house, cleaning your car, vacuuming places that you never get to except for Pesach, koshering your kitchens, switching over utensils for those who have special Pesach utensils and special Pesach pots, buying special food, praying and waiting for the matzah to get here on time, and seeing the picture of New World with the Aviv matzah there, wondering if you should buy it. All those things have to do with Pesach, which is centered around the home. And Leil HaSeder is always around the dining room table with one's family, telling the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. And the focus is not on the shul, is not in a house of study, in a Beit Midrash. Rather, the focus is sitting together, whoever is in your family, whether it's your biological family, extended family, guests you invite into your home, people you consider family that you may not be actually related to. Family could mean a lot of things for a lot of different people. There is no one definition of family, certainly not in the 21st century. And Rav Kook said it the best, possibly. He said, we are a nation, the Jewish people, Am Yisrael, the nation of Israel. But Am Yisrael is not just this amorphic nation. It's not this ideological concept. It's built of families. Am Yisrael banui mishpachot. Families and another family and another family and another family. And that's how we're built. We're not built any other way. And again, family could mean different things for different people. But that is the infrastructure. That is how we're built as a nation. Every nation essentially is built. And that's why Pesach is so focused on the family. And a great quote is, families are like branches that grow in different directions, but the roots remain as one. I know people have different families. Some people consider their work colleagues part of their extended family. I know in Israel, many places of work say, we feel like one family together, and you feel connected to those people. Sometimes you have really close friends. that you feel like they're a brother, they're a sister to me, they're a cousin. I'm really close to them. There's different relationships we have in our lives that we hold dear. And now we are, because of this isolation, forced to be in our bubble. So whoever's there is there. And that's what Pesach is all about, embracing your bubble. Because that's what we would have done anyways, not with the isolation regulations, but rather with inviting people into our home and embracing those people as part of the Pesach experience. And this Pesach is an opportunity, even though it's forced upon us by regulations and by being safe in the wake of COVID-19, but it's our opportunity to embrace our bubble, enjoy our bubble, enjoy the people who are in it, whoever we can invite within our bubble, and stay within the regulations, but really have an awesome experience this Pesach. And my bracha to everyone is that your Pesach experience should be heightened, should be very good, should be very positive, and embrace the relationships you have around you. And for those who may be alone this Pesach, that is very difficult, but there is technology to also help breach that gap. However you do it also within the halachic parameters, but there's ways to reach out today that there didn't used to be. And that's a wonderful, wonderful thing we have in the 21st century, and really a blessing in disguise for these times where families and people, even if they're in physical isolation, can still be connected to many people around the world through social media, technology, and the devices that we have. Chag Sameach to everyone, and enjoy your Seder, enjoy your family.